Look, this is more of a philosophical thing. Blizzard doesn't need to do anything. They don't have a moral or legal obligation to cater to any group of fans. If they really wanted to, the next World of Warcraft expansion could be some insane crossover between the Bible and My Little Pony. That said, Blizzard exists in its current form because of Warcraft. Warcraft 2 is when they really started to pop off. Warcraft 3 was the next huge leap, and then World of Warcraft, not just big, but the biggest moment in the company's history to this day. And World of Warcraft's success didn't happen in a vacuum. Vanilla World of Warcraft was incredible as an MMO on its own, but part of why it blew up was because Warcraft as a universe was already loved. Blizzard had already built trust, respect, and a big fanbase with those earlier games. If you really think about it, the three most important stepping stones for Blizzard as a company are all tied to Warcraft, and that's not an exaggeration at all. Which means that the people who came in and supported Blizzard from roughly 1995 to 2008, the old school fans, are the backbone of everything that followed. Those fans didn't just buy the games, they made Blizzard what it was and what it still is today. Blizzard owes them a lot. Don't get me wrong, Blizzard earned their success. They were dropping nothing but bangers in that era. But they wouldn't have gotten far without that support, of course. And here's where it gets personal. I was one of those fans, and when I look at modern World of Warcraft, I don't see any of those things that made me fall in love with Blizzard in the first place present at all. None of it. The defining characteristics that tied all those old school Blizzard games together are just gone. Think about it. What did Warcraft 2, StarCraft, Diablo 1 and 2, and Vanilla World of Warcraft all have in common? They were dark games, but not bleak. Diablo was oppressive, candlelit horror. StarCraft was gritty, militaristic, and almost horror sci-fi. Warcraft looked a little cartoony sometimes, but it was always bloody and war-driven. World of Warcraft was bright and adventurous on the surface, but you could wander into Duskwood, clear Skulllands, or play through the Legend of Stalvan and get that same dark, heavy vibe. Yes, there was always humor, goofiness, even outright cute stuff.
And that's how baby dwarfs are made.
That was Blizzard's wink of charm, the little touches that gave their worlds personality and kept things from being the same. But those were spices, not the main dish. The darkness was always the foundation, and that's the thing modern World of Warcraft has completely lost. And even though Blizzard can do whatever the fuck they want, like I said before, I cannot help but feel pissed about it, because just like me, even if most old school players barely touch the game anymore, we would love a Warcraft or World of Warcraft game that wasn't just a 20-year-old re-release, something that actually felt like it was made with us in mind and is brand new. That desire hasn't gone away, and probably never will, but Blizzard chose to change the entire course of their games into the soft, watered down stuff we got today. Not because they had to adapt to a new player base, but because they wanted to. Let's be real, most people who quit World of Warcraft didn't quit because they didn't want to play anymore. They left because World of Warcraft stopped being the game they wanted. Yes, it's not just about the story and the vibe, I will admit that. Gameplay and systems matter a lot, but here's the thing. Look at expansions like Dragonflight or The War Within. They have super solid gameplay, smooth systems, but they're pulling fewer numbers than something like Legion did. And Legion didn't launch in a super great shape mechanically, not at first at least. The reason it worked though is quite simple. It had that soul, that Warcraft vibe. The spark that made Warcraft feel like Warcraft, or at least some of it. That's what Blizzard's current soft approach is killing, and it's hurting the game. I will explain exactly why in a minute, but even if it wasn't hurting the game, it would still feel shitty to watch. I remember seeing a Reddit post back in Dragonflight's first months where this person said they loved the new direction because to them World of Warcraft used to feel like it had too much war and violence. They thought this lighter, softer tone was a breath of fresh air that the game really needed, and people in the comments agreed with them. And I saw many other posts like that as well. My reaction is just, what the fuck? Even if Shadowlands, the previous expansion to Dragonflight, had been dark, serious and well written, spoiler, it was none of those things, the game is literally called World of Warcraft. The entire foundation is war, conflict, darkness and struggle. Wanting WoW to not have war in it is like watching Breaking Bad and saying, You know what would spice this up? A romantic comedy focused last season about Marie and Hank. Because we had enough crime at this point. It would be extremely absurd, and it is. And it sucks. I won't sugarcoat it. It sucks that people like that are now Blizzard's focus audience and not someone like me. Meanwhile, the fans who grew up with these games, who supported the company from day one, who kept Blizzard alive long enough for World of Warcraft to even exist, are just simply ignored. It stings even more because this isn't about money, it isn't about profit. If Blizzard had gutted the soul of Warcraft because it made more money, I would still hate it, but at least it would make sense. At least I could point to the corporate overlords and go, yeah, greedy bastards following some stupid trend are ruining the game for money. But that's not what's happening here at all. The game being soy instead of gritty isn't even helping them make money. If it felt more like,
this was not our destiny. Times change. We will never be slaves!
instead of, that actually make more money. They aren't just ignoring nostalgia, they're burning generational goodwill. The old school fans are the type of people who would have brought their kids into World of Warcraft. That's how franchises become forever IPs. See Pokemon, Mario, even Final Fantasy. Instead, Blizzard's pivot basically killed that cycle. People like you who grew up with Warcraft aren't excited to share it anymore. You're probably embarrassed by what it is now. That's not just a vibe issue, it's a multi-generational revenue loss. People are sick of soft, tasteless, always easy to digest stuff, not just in World of Warcraft, but in gaming in general. And there's proof. What's the single biggest spike in subs World of Warcraft has ever seen? Was it Wrath of the Lich King's launch? Was it Vanilla? Was it the relaunch of Vanilla in 2019? No, it was Warlords of Drainor's launch. Let me repeat that again. One of the worst expansions the game has ever had, rivaled only by Shadowlands in how fast it tanked, and yet Warlords had the biggest launch spike in history. Why? Simply because of the vibe. The cinematic alone was enough to sell millions without hesitation. Imagine if the actual expansion had been as good as Legion. Hell, imagine if it had been better. That would have been unstoppable. Warlords of Draenor could have been a masterpiece. That's why I keep hammering this point. Gameplay matters, yes, but World of Warcraft has had some really solid gameplay since Dragonflight. The problem isn't the gameplay, it's the missing vibe, the respect for what made Warcraft Warcraft. Cinematics about the power of friendship that look and sound so bad are killing the soul of the game. On a small side note, why do they also talk like that?
Now I understand. I thought to survive, we needed to reclaim our aspectral powers. But they were never ours to take.
It was about coming together as a family.
And so we did.
Perhaps, as we were always meant to.
And yes, I'm sure the game is still making them money. Trust me, the second World of Warcraft stops being profitable, we will know immediately, because Blizzard will go into the greediest maintenance mode you have ever fucking seen. But just because it's making money doesn't mean the current situation is good, because this whole soft World of Warcraft approach is not helping the game grow at all. The people still playing the game are never going to stop at this point, and that's great for them. But when it comes to new players, you'd have to be completely delusional to imagine Blizzard is doing an okay job there. No potential new player is getting excited by anything they're putting out. Go watch the Dragonflight or War Within cinematics and ask yourself, why would any MMO fan with zero connection to Warcraft ever want to play this game? Then go and watch the Warlords of Draenor or Wrath of the Lich King cinematics. And there's another thing, and I've said this before, content creators are the lifeblood of multiplayer games, especially MMOs. Many times people decide to try an MMO based on what they see online, in videos and on forums. And here's some extra proof that I'm right about the rest of the video as well. Almost every old school, passionate content creator who used to make World of Warcraft feel like this massive, important, cool MMO has either stopped covering World of Warcraft exclusively or quit entirely. You do not have to like creators, you do not have to like any creator, but you cannot ignore this basic fact. So yeah, just because the game is fine doesn't mean this isn't a huge fucking problem. Beyond all the wasted potential, and there's been so much wasted already, this issue could be way bigger than people realize down the road. Look at what just happened with old school RuneScape. Almost every content creator that was still left in World of Warcraft sphere is playing that game now. Sure, many will come back eventually, but some will not. And for a lot of them, this was the first time making content for another game. And they're doing really well, and that says a lot. Imagine trying that shit 20, 15, even 10 years ago. The community, the World of Warcraft community, would have eaten you alive for abandoning their precious game. But now, those fanatical loyal fans aren't here anymore because apparently we really need to take all the darkness and war out of Blizzard games for some fucking reason. So you know what happens now that hardcore old school fans are gone and there's no real reason left to care about this game when they screw up the next expansion? Everyone will leave instantly, and this time they won't even hesitate. Players won't worry about missing out on some new cool content they might bring out in the next patch, and content creators will not be scared that people will stop watching them. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing, it's not, but that's the reality, because really, who the fuck cares at this point? I can't even call myself loyal to this game anymore. The War Within was the last expansion I'm buying on release. If I don't hear something after midnight's release that genuinely makes me want to give it a shot, I will just not bother. That's why Blizzard should care about old school players, not just because it hurts to see the franchise I grew up with get gutted and handed over to people who think Warcraft without war is a good thing, but also because it's stupid business. It's leaving money on the table. It's wild to see Blizzard, a company that would do anything for profit, ignore the obvious. A darker, more grounded tone that built their empire is what people still want from this particular franchise. The soft, shallow tone isn't helping them profit. If the game was super thriving, I would still be salty, but at least it would make sense. And right now it doesn't. And no, Metzen isn't some magic solution to this problem. I don't buy the narrative that he's going to swoop in and fix everything. Even if he wanted to steer World of Warcraft back toward its roots, and I've got no reason to believe he does, he's still just one guy. He's in a high position, but it's clear most of the team doesn't care about Warcraft's identity anymore, not the original one. One voice, even if it's his, isn't going to outweigh all other people who think the game should keep heading in this soft, sanitized direction. World of Warcraft 2 will happen one day. Classic Plus is almost definitely coming pretty soon, and when those things drop, I really hope from the bottom of my heart that old school fans are the focus, not the people who don't even care about the Warcraft universe and don't actually like it, not the ones who just want it soft and sanitized, but the ones who actually want it to feel like Warcraft again, because retail's a lost cause. There's just too much baked into it at this point, from transmogs, mounts, toys, endless pets, filler lore, whole expansions worth of fluff that has nothing to do with the actual heart of Warcraft. You cannot rip that stuff out anymore without breaking the game on a fundamental level. Even if the next patch was the most Warcraft core, gritty, soul-filled content they ever made, it still feels out of place in the middle of all that crap. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's better to let the current team keep doing what they're doing with retail, while Blizzard forms a new team, one that actually respects what Warcraft was, what it stood for, and what fans loved from the very beginning. Let retail be retail, but give us something real for the future. Anyway, that's the video. If you enjoyed it, hit like, hit subscribe, and let me know your thoughts down below. I don't get a ton of comments usually, so I actually read and reply to pretty much all of them. Would love to hear your take. Looking forward to chatting with you guys. Until next time, peace.